Good morning, everyone. Our testing library is feature complete. I guess we just cleaning up the APIs and making them a bit more user-friendly and consistent. And also, we cleaning up our implementation of the features that we drafted, but now we want to make code more readable, understandable, and maintainable. So future us or other people will be happy to read this code and maybe modify it, or at least understand how it works. The focus of today's stream is Test Reporters API, but also before that I will recap a few features that I implemented between previous stream and today's stream, and also we probably will make a few improvements to test runner and the API for setting test runners. I'm under Tropin. I work on operating systems and programming languages and do a lot of free and open source software along the way, including this small but very nice testing library. So let's get through the features that I implemented off stream. Let's see what we have here. Probably we finished our stream somewhere here. We moved after run logic for tests and test suites to the test runner. So now our tests and test suite macro don't know anything about how to run code. They just schedule tests and load test suites, and that's it. By the way, the implementation is really clean and simple of those macro. So people reading them won't have much problems understanding. So we basically just set the metadata of our chunks like this to make it's clear that the functions are not usual functions but test suites or tests, like here, suitable test. And also we set documentation, which is a string, and that's basically it, and call the test runner to schedule the test or load the test suite. I quite like the simplicity of the implementation and the elegance of it, because it's sometimes, or maybe even often, a sign of a good design when you have like elegant implementation. Maybe not easy, but simple, still simple. That's a sign of a good code, sometimes or often. Anyway, after that, after we did this move, I actually introduced a small bug which I fixed later, and I realized this bug only after I executed suitable tests. They failed and they didn't return. They returned usual 0, like the process running the tests from CLI returned 0. So I added non-zero return when there are some failures or errors. After that, I also moved some code from tests and test suites, which is related to setting current test runner. Previously, inside the chunk, in test chunk and in test suite load chunk, there was a parameterization of current test runner. So the all nested code is aware that the test runner is already set. However, I decided that it's okay to do on test runner side as well, and I moved this code to test runner, and now not exactly to the test runner. I do it here, like not in a load sunk and not in a test sunk, but before we're running we're accessing the test runner. Why I do so? Because I want our test runner to be able to access itself. And it is important because some of our operations, some of our messages that we send to test runner mutate the state of test runner. And if we, instead of using current test runner, we'll call test runner get current or create, and current test runner won't be set inside the test runner, we will create a new test runner with new state, and this state will be modified and lost, and we will come back to our like previous test runner, and it will be unaware of tests loaded during this phase. So what I did, I set a test runner much earlier, and when I access any code inside test runner, any functions, any methods of our test runner, the test runner is already aware of itself. So we basically introduced this or self in OOP terms, if you're familiar with some OOP languages, through this trick of setting dynamic variable before accessing the object of a class. Some small changes to make file. Another important change. I was preparing there's actually quite a lot of changes to test and test suite implementation done before the stream and after previous stream. We also moved two dynamic variables, test and test pass, to the test runner. So now our test and test suite macro do know nothing about those dynamic variables, which gives us a few benefits. First of all, we don't need to expose those variables as API, because previously we had to expose them, or at least expose the macro called reset test environment, which set those variables. We had to expose either variables or some wrapper on top of those variables to make it possible for user to reset or change those variables. However, right now those variables are baked inside test runner and available in the lexical scope of test runner, and it's not accessible to user anymore. It's not accessible to our macros, and they are not accessible to test runners, which is very good, because now it becomes the implementation detail of test runner. If you don't want to use dynamic variables in our test runner, if we want to use atomic values like atomic boxes or anything else, we can do it. Now it's inside test runner and nobody aware of their existence, which is good. But this is required a change in test reporters, because test reporters we're using the test pass to build the hierarchy, to build the nestness. When we run the test reporter, you can see that we have like a nested structure here, and so this structure was built using the test pass variable. But now we made an explicit argument to test schedule and test suite enter and to test suite leave message, And now this hierarchy built without using dynamic variables, which is also good, because now the test runner is not aware of those variables, which is better in my opinion and more explicit. By the way, using dynamic variables sometimes useful, and it's like really hard to implement things without those dynamic variables. But the more dynamic variables, the harder to understand the code, because the dynamic variables are very explicit, and where the place where they get updated, their value changed, also are not very clear. So if you have dynamic variables, try to make them as private as possible and not to expose to external user, and try to make the usage as collocated as possible, so it's like in a small amount of code or functions, and you know, it's like very clear that it's used only here. If it spreads across your whole code base, it can become like really hard to maintain. And here we actually like improving the quality of our code by reducing the scope touched by those dynamic variables. Also we renamed our hacky external executor variable to schedule only variable, which allows to prevent double execution when we schedule load test suits from a function. I don't remember how called this function. Let's see. This one. Test runner run test suits. If you don't have this variable, this loop across test suits, which calls each test suite, will first load the test suite and after that immediately execute it. But when we have it set to schedule only, it will prevent the after run logic that we moved here to the test runner. And what else? And also we removed unnecessary parameterization that we had here in test case and test suite, because we already have this parameterization a bit further down in the code. If you take a look at the diff, I already showed it, but it's here. So every time we execute our test runner, the current test runner is already set, even if it wasn't before. The only thing that I would like to do here is to get rid of test runner factory. Test runner factory is a kind of pattern that we use, and I will show how to use it. We have a get test runner variable, and this get test runner variable contains a function. It's actually a thunk, which a function with 0 arguments, and when it called, it returns a test runner. So we are not directly setting test runner here, but a function that will create a test runner. And later, our test runner get current or create checks if the current test runner is set, then return it. If it's not set, it calls the get test runner. It was okay for a while, and it works, it definitely works, but it introduces unnecessary step and a bit of unnecessary complexity here. So for example, here we need to ensure that our current test runner set, and to ensure it, we call this function and do parameterization of current test runner, and only after that we run this code. However, we can get rid of this test runner factory and set test runner directly. And in this case, we won't need the reset test environment, most likely. I think we will get rid of schedule only soon. We will move it to the internals of test runner. And the only thing that we will need is to expose the current test runner as a public API, so people will be able to set the test runner, because the information of current test run is baked into test runner. If we set the current test runner to a different value, it will be a clean test environment, so we won't need this reset test environment at all. However, it's quite nice because it is explicit API that we are resetting the test environment with this macro. But getting rid of test runner factory maybe even better. Maybe not that explicit in terms of API, because we won't have a reset test environment macro anymore, but still good. However, we can just update reset test environment macro to just do parameterize of current test runner with argument provided here, which also possible. Okay, it's a bit of recap of a previous stream. There was another stream where we unfortunately didn't have sound recorded, and also Hello, hello. Okay, I guess the sound came back, but I don't know why it disconnected at first place. Probably because of the Type-C port I use for the, how you call it, audio interface. I already had such problem in the previous stream. Is this true for the whole stream? Fuck. Oh, this is a bit of a disaster. 1 second, I will switch the Type-C. And now we have sound again. Niklaus, thank you very much for notifying me that there is no sound. I spent 0, even if I fuck. Okay, the stream will contain half of introduction and recap of previous streams, an hour of silence, and a lot of fucks at the end. Okay, I am a bit dissatisfied with how it turned out about the audio. However, I am quite satisfied with how it turned out about our implementation. We introduced test reporter combinators, and we split our base reporter into 2 reporters, the hierarchy and verbose reporters, and we recombined them back into base reporter, and also we created a new reporter which combines dots reporter with hierarchy, and now our tests have both hierarchy of test suits and tests and dots reporter which is quite compact, and I would say I like it, I guess. And now this mechanism solely will allow to make and develop and reuse test reporters much easier and provide better reporters faster, which is great. We still need to introduce a few features to our test reporters, and the most important feature is the state management. Probably for each message we will pass an atomic box from our test runner to the test reporter, so the test reporter can save some state into it and later reuse it. The only problem that now we have reporter combinators, and those reporter combinators will allow to combine a few reporters, and if a few reporters access the state, it can be a disaster. Okay, I need to write it down. Provide state argument to each message of reporter from test runner. It will allow to make stateful reporters without making reporters to reset the state on test runs. Selves on test run. However, there is a potential problem when we use test reporter combinators and a few of the reporters are stateful. Okay, I wrote it down, and I will come back to it and we'll think about it, and we'll come up with a solution. The good thing that we already did a lot to improve our test reporters and to make them more composable and reusable. Even having our library feature complete, we still have like a lot to just clean up it. I don't even talk about implementing a beta test reporters or other things. I guess we need one more stream, or at least one more session of coding, maybe of the stream, where I will move test reporter to the test runner, and will make a test reporter part of a test runner, and we'll get rid of test runner factory that we have. I mentioned it at the beginning of the stream, but probably it went to the void when the audio disconnected. The problem right now that test current test runner defined. Show me. Current test runner is false by default, but we have get test runner, which is a thunk, a function with 0 arguments, which creates test runner, and we have a helper test runner get current to create, which checks if the current test runner is set, and if it's not, it creates a new one, and it introduces a few problems. And if we get rid of the test runner factory, we will make code simpler and clearer and like easier to comprehend and better, absolutely better. No trade-offs here. I was talking about trade-offs for the whole stream today, so here will be no trade-offs, of course, as usual, as in our usual development lives, as a life with no trade-offs. Let's commit test dots with hierarchy, suitable tests, suitable add test reporter dots with hierarchy, and finish our stream on this good note. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope even the parts without sound was helpful to you today. See you in a bit.